Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank all of you for joining us today. My name is Jen Levy. I am a career counselor in the Career Center, and this series is our Alum Zoom series. And so 30 minutes, 5 standard questions. We often have alumni, but sometimes we have HR representatives from different organizations, just so you all can learn more about different roles and fields. I'm going to put a few links in the chat, and that will take you to we have a few other alum Zooms planned if you want to check that out. It's also part of our larger Careers Beyond Academia series. And then this video and other recordings will go onto the postdoc YouTube channel. So that might be something that you want to check out in all the spare time that you have. If there are other videos of alums and panels and speakers, if you'd like to do that. So we do this in collaboration, not just the Career Center, but the Pratt School of Engineering, the Graduate School, and the Office of Postdoctoral Services. We all work together. And the Duke Alumni Association helps to promote this. So if there are any alums with us, hello. So I would like to welcome our guest, Rachel, also Xiaoyu, Tian. She's a machine learning engineer at Twitter. Rachel's prior experience also includes Starbucks and GE Healthcare. She received her PhD in biomedical engineering from Duke in 2016. She also has a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Beijing Jiatong University. And what we'll do is I'll ask Rachel a sort of standard series of 5 questions. We do have a bonus question this time, and then we'll open it up to you all for anything else that wasn't covered that you would like to ask. So once again, thank you so much, Rachel, for taking your time to be with us. And let's go to the first question, which is, could you tell us about your background, please?
Thanks, Jennifer, for having me. And it's really great to meet with you all. So my name is Rachel, and I graduated from Duke's biomedical engineering program in 2016 with a PhD degree. So during my PhD study, my research is about medical imaging. So basically, we developed an algorithm to estimate the radiation dose delivered to the patients when they are receiving CT scans. And before my PhD, I did my undergrad study in Beijing, China, and I majored in electrical engineering.
Okay. I know that we did have one question at registration. Could you just touch on Starbucks and GE Healthcare, what types of roles those were, and if there's anything else outside of your degrees that you think would be helpful for us to know?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, after in my 5th year of my PhD, I did my second internship at GE Healthcare. So I did in total 2 internships, first in my second year and another one in my 5th year. And then during my second internship, I realized that I'm probably not that interested in, I'm probably more interested in machine learning compared with medical imaging. So then I started to do some self-learning about machine learning and algorithms. And after about 10 months of self-learning, and I find a position at Starbucks with the title of machine learning engineer. So essentially the position at Starbucks, basically I focus on improving the Starbucks mobile pay app. And I worked at Starbucks for about 2.5 years. And then with this working experience, I interviewed at Twitter and then kind of reached my current role.
Okay, thank you. Love that Starbucks app, by the way, that I use quite frequently. So you said that you got your job. So the second question is, how did you actually get your job at your organization? Could you tell us a little bit more about that process?
I think actually I personally spent a very long time during my PhD to figure out the career path I like to take. Like as like before my 5th year, I'm just fully devoted to medical imaging. I think this is the field I really love, and I really like my research, and I really like the achievement I have got from finishing some research. But in my 5th year, like at the end of my second internship, in my 5th year, I realized that medical imaging field is probably not something I'm that interested in. And I realized that machine learning is kind of a rising field. So then I started to just taking courses, and both online and offline ones, about big data, machine learning, and data structure. So then I kind of connect with a lot of friends in the Bay Area to know what their life is like. And I decided I probably want to pursue my career in this field. So basically, then I did maybe 10 interviews, and then finally got one offer from Starbucks. Yeah. And basically, my first job at Starbucks, I'm not sure whether you guys have used the Starbucks mobile app, and there is when you place an order, there will be a estimated time, like when this order will be ready. So my work is to provide a machine learning model to give prediction of the estimated time for each order. Yeah. And while I was working at Starbucks, I think I would like to see some have the opportunity to work on some large scale problems like Starbucks traffic. The traffic of Starbucks mobile app is really low, so it's not super exciting. Yeah, sometimes, so the problem can be a little bit small scale. So then I decided to interview for the companies in the Bay Area, and yeah, and then I think I interviewed for another maybe 8 to 10 companies and got 2 offers. Then I end up choosing Twitter uh, as a machine learning engineer.
Okay. This can never just be the standard 5 questions. I always have to ask something based
Yeah.
on what you just said, because I think it's helpful. Did you just, for the round where you applied and accepted the position at Twitter, was networking important? You said you reached out to friends, or did you just straight submit applications online and heard back from companies?
Yeah, I think I think for the 2 rounds of job searching, the first round is for the first round, networking is quite important, because at that time I don't have any work experience. I just have 2 internships, but I don't have any proof to show them I can successfully finish this job. So at that time, I think networking with friends and having information from them to know what is important when I was preparing for interview is really important. And in my second round of interview, I think at that time it's more about technical, get prepared for their technical problems, because at that time all the recruiters will kind of know that I have work experience, and they have confidence that I can probably be a good candidate for the position. So at that time, I think it's more important for me to get prepared. Yeah.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. So the next question is, what is a typical day like at your organization pre and post COVID? So if you can remember what things were like before this, we'd love to hear about both versions.
Yeah, I think the exact content that we work, like the exact details didn't change too much before and after COVID, but the way how we work changed significantly. So basically, I'm currently working on a machine learning based ranking algorithm at Twitter. So basically, this algorithm will rank all the tweets served on home timeline. The home timeline is the first page you see when you log on to Twitter. So basically, this work, my work's responsibility involves both doing some infra-related work and also model-based work. So we not only need to be responsible for some backend changes, and we also need to be responsible to improve the machine learning model. And in general, Twitter offers a very flexible work style. So before COVID, we have one day in every week that we don't schedule any meeting. So during that day, we can just fully focus on our work. But after the COVID, people are all working from home. So actually, Twitter offers us one extra relaxed day in each month because I think people are just not taking vacations now, like after the COVID. So I think one advantage Twitter has compared with other high tech companies is that Twitter really put a special emphasis on the employer's mental health, and it doesn't really just value competition, and it also values people's mental health and their physical health and so on.
That's great. That's good to hear. So the next question is, what can students or postdocs who would like to work in this field or explore it further do to prepare?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is definitely to make sure that you really like this area. So basically, machine learning area is now quickly developing and expanding. So compared with other traditional areas, there are a lot of new materials and contents that we need to learn every day. If they think this is really exciting and they got really in love with this kind of learning culture, I think machine learning is definitely a good area to start your career. Then I think to get prepared for the job interviews, like some helpful materials to me is to take lessons both in algorithms and machine learning. So you may either take it online, like the Coursera courses, or just classes offered by Duke. So for the online ones, I think Coursera's algorithm and data structure course by two professors from Princeton University is really helpful. And for machine learning ones, I recommend the machine learning course by Andrew. Yeah, and then the next step is probably to do some coding practice on LeetCode. It's essentially coding without any hints, and try to deliver a algorithm to each of the LeetCode problem. And then probably do some machine learning projects to prepare better for the position. So I think in general, the exact material can be a little bit difficult to say it. So I think one thing is if students have any questions, I can probably write it down, like write down the list of materials that is helpful to get prepared for a tech interview. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. And if you wouldn't mind, if you could send me the resources and the specific classes that you mentioned, then I'll send it out to everyone who registered too. That would be really helpful. Thank you. Great. Okay, so moving right along. The next question is, what is the employment outlook for this field given the COVID crisis? And we all know that the answer may be, we're not sure yet, but if you do have any information about machine learning in general, or Twitter or big tech more specifically, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think this is a really great question. Actually, this field is probably not significantly impacted by the COVID crisis compared with other ones. Actually, since people are staying at home more than usual, I think we tend to do things through online methods. So I actually know many companies are expanding their machine learning team. And in general, I feel like this field is still quickly expanding. And no matter at Starbucks or at Twitter, my team is just always expanding. I feel like we always kind of double our people every 2 years, something like that. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I think this field is definitely quite promising. Maybe uh, the companies that got impact from the COVID is companies related to travel, like Uber or Airbnb. So those companies are definitely decreasing their teams, but I think other ones are still in the expanding stage. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
good to hear. So, for the bonus question, could you tell us a little bit about your experience job searching in the US as an international candidate? Do you have any advice to share or specific things you felt were
Mhm.
helpful or things that you prioritized?
Yeah.
That I think would be useful for us to know,
Mhm.
even though it was a few years ago and some things have
Uh,
changed and become a little bit more difficult. But yeah, any insight that you could provide.
yeah. I think for me as an international student, one thing that I think is really challenging is to find a job in US, but also need to keep the visa issue in mind. So I think it sometimes can make me feel really worried for not able to find a job before my OPT starts. And also I worried about whether I can get a H-1B visa after I find a job. And I also, at that time, I also think some companies don't want to hire international students because they need to apply for H-1B visa. But I think I would suggest like to know all the requirements of on the visa for international students. For instance, I think at that time, I'm not sure whether it's still the same, but at that time the OPT doesn't require me to, for 1 year, it doesn't require me to even find a job to even get paid. So at that time I can actually get a volunteer job and keep my OPT visa status. So if I know that early in the stage, I won't feel that anxious. Yeah, so I think sometimes for international students, getting to know all the visa requirements beforehand can be really helpful because it clear out the mysterious things. Um, yeah, and my second suggestion is to do more internships. So I mean, even though it might be a small company and whatever, but I think really maybe doing 1 or 2 internships can really put oneself well prepared on the market. It helps a student to define their career path because uh, we can just know whether we like this field, we like this company by observing the people working there. And also it gives the company a lot of confidence about whether this candidates can successfully handle the tasks. Um, and also doing more internships actually helps us to uh, like we have some disadvantage on the visa side. So doing internship actually kind of make us more like in an advantage position. So I think the last suggestion is actually to locate to the place where you would like to find a job. I think this is most helpful for me. It might sound simple, but it actually helps a lot. So I moved to California when I was looking for my first job. It just gave me a lot of confidence that I can just uh, successfully work in one of the companies because I just pass by them every day. It just made me feel it's possible that I can achieve this. So I think go to the city you are dreamed of to work, and then meet some friends there, have a life there can be really helpful to make oneself to get a job there. Yeah, so I think in general, my suggestion would be after you successfully finish the study at Duke, just say goodbye to the beautiful campus and move to the city and move to the place you would like to go. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all of that. Those are the scripted questions that we have, but I'd love to open it up now in case anyone who's with us has a specific question. You could take yourself off mute or just put it into the chat if you're more comfortable doing that, either way. Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about how you kind of validated and marketed your self-learning to sort of signal to companies that you had, learned machine learning and were capable of doing it before you got out there and worked for Starbucks.
I think basically you like to know how I kind of self-learn those materials and then get ready for the first job, right?
Yeah, and if there were like credentials or things or signals that you could give that you had done that.
Yeah, sure. I think I did that first by talking to some friends who is working in the tech companies in Bay Areas. So they kind of analyze my situation based on their experience. So they actually told me it's possible for you to get a job in this company. So that gave me kind of some confidence there. And then I actually did a lot of work to improve my resume. Basically, the essential idea is to make sure my resume covers all the essential requirements that is required by the job. And if I find anything that I don't have in my resume to meet the requirement, I kind of do a project or practice for that. So it's actually a way to help us define what is the to-dos to get prepared for the job interview. And then I think another thing is to learn from failures, because I kind of spend a lot of time to do the online courses and work all the legal problems, but I probably didn't want to interview early in the stage. So I think I'm not well prepared. But later I realized that, getting interviews does not cost me anything. I can just do an interview and then they will send their direct feedback to me to see what are things I still need to improve. So yeah, I think those are probably most essential. Yeah. And another thing is to pair with a friend or someone who is also getting prepared for the interviews, so we can learn from each other and discuss ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. And then Rachel, just to expand on that, so if you found that you had a skill or technique or something that the company was looking for, but you didn't have it in, let's say, an internship or course that you had taken, is there a way that you listed that on your resume or on LinkedIn? Was it just by having that term to say you have like some competency or you have a skill in that area, even if you didn't have like a class or a project to show?
So usually if I don't have that skills, I think what I will do is to check whether that skill is required by majority of the jobs in this field. If it is, then I probably can think of what are some ways I can master this technique and then demonstrate to them. And then after a couple months, I sort of know what are my technical skills, and then I can pick the jobs that only require these requirements, because I think kind of defining this scope is kind of important because otherwise I may just like keep learning new things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. Josin? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, Joseph.
Josin.
Yeah, so Rachel, thank you very much for all the informative stuff. So one quick question. So you told about the projects that you did, and this is again taking off from Sayed's question. So how complicated were the projects that you did to show that you learned a new skill? I mean, were they reasonably like medium-sized to small-sized projects, or were there large-sized projects? And where did you find those projects?
Yeah. I think for interviews, usually I think medium size is good enough. Like one thing I use a lot is Kaggle. So basically Kaggle will have some real data provided by some companies. So it's like that's a problem they are facing in their actual situation. And maybe do 1 or 2 Kaggle projects where you can demonstrate both the supervised and unsupervised learning skills. And another thing is I attended a boot camp. So in the boot camp, they will have maybe usually have a couple of projects for the attendees to choose. Yeah, and I think those projects are kind of middle size and is really good to demonstrate your skills.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we have time for one more question, if anybody has one.
Just a quick question. First of all, thank you so much for talking to us. What languages do most of these companies look for? Like, is it Java? Is it C++? Is it Swift? I mean, I'm sure it depends on the job. And then are there specific, like you could work with TensorFlow, you could work with Keras or Theano, right? Is there specifics that some of these companies that are looking for, or is it all over the place?
Yeah, I think in general it's quite flexible. Like you can choose the language, but most of the companies will just make sure you can be you are proficient in one language. And but for me, I would say Java and Python is probably most popular ones. And if you master both of them, you can demonstrate, I know machine learning, I use Python well, and I'm also familiar with data structure and like typed language, so I can use Java as well. Yeah, and with these two languages, it's probably either very easy to learn other languages. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rachel. This was very informative, very helpful. I appreciate any of the resources or the specific courses that you mentioned. I'll be happy to get to the rest of the group. Is it okay if anyone has further follow-up questions? Can they message you on LinkedIn? Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Or they can just email me. Yeah.
Okay. And thank you so much again. This was really helpful. And especially you're doing this early in the morning where you are on your rest day. So we hope that you actually have some rest and some downtime today, but really appreciate it so much. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us.